I'm finally back home from TIFF. Thank you all so much to everyone who I've met and made this experience great yet again, even though I am exhausted. It still blows my mind that people care enough to even come up to me and say, I love your videos or stuff. So thank you all so much. Anyways, I just saw Luca Guadagnino's Queer, his second movie this year after Challengers, based off the novel. It follows William Lee, played by Daniel Craig, who becomes enamored with a younger man as he tries to establish a meaningful connection. There was originally a cut over 3 hours long until it was reduced down slowly and surely until its runtime now of 2 hours and 15 minutes. And it was recently picked up by A24 for release sometime later this year. And after the success of Challengers, can Luca Guadagnino pull off the back-to-back? And to that, I have to say, kind of. I'm not really sure. You decide. And I'll come clean off the top. No, I didn't read the novel because I don't really read. So I had no idea what to expect or what was to come. Okay, so that is very important to know. If I could summarize my feelings overall about the film, is that it would fall into that routine category you hear every year of, I admire it, I respect it, but I don't actually love it. And I'll explain why. The first half of this movie, I was genuinely into. The visual look of this movie, I just love. The way the costumes, production design, and cinematography all work hand in hand to create a very dreamy, enchanting aesthetic. I don't even know if those are the right words to describe it, but you follow Daniel Craig, who's almost always dressed in like a beaten up, slightly battered button down that's white and with the fedora, and he's walking around town, and all these buildings are also white, and the lens has a very soft look to it. It's a very lush aesthetic. And you combine that with a Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross score, which is fantastic. They have never let me down. I am blessed to live during their time where they're doing this. Thank you. But you combine that aesthetic that I talked about with what was going on in that story, and it felt like a match made in heaven. Daniel Craig is great as William Lee. I'll admit, it takes me a second to shed that James Bond Benoit Blanc when he first shows up on screen just because of his American accent here, but that soon fades away, and then you don't see Daniel Craig or those other characters. You just see William Lee, and with how little background you're given of this character, it doesn't even matter because it's all in the performance. Like, yes, he's willing to put himself out there, he is kind of a yapper, he's still very charismatic, but you can still see right through it that he's tired. He's going through it. And that's a credit to Daniel Craig's performance in here. And Drew Starkey, who I'm not sure if I've ever seen him in anything before this, he's also fantastic. I mean, first of all, I hate him because of his perfect bone structure and good looks and now good acting talent. I mean, save some for the rest of us, you greedy motherfucker. But their chemistry is working overtime here, let me tell you. As of this recording, I don't know what the official rating of this movie will be. All I'll say is I'll be very interested to see what they rate it because the sex here is prevalent. I'm talking sucking cock. Can I say that actually? I'm talking grabbing a handful of ass from the front. Like, he goes like under and like grabs it like this. Get a real handful of it. And sex scenes don't bother me in movies. I am not a part of that crowd. And it does speak to the larger point that this movie's trying to make about desire. Daniel Craig's character wants to be desired, and specifically he wants to be desired by Drew Starkey. And then the movie makes an interesting shift to, well, what if the desire is unwanted or unreciprocated? Then what? Do you spiral? Do you back off? Do you try harder? Do you go to another country to find a drug? What would you do? And for what it's worth, the movie has a bunch of interesting ideas and great visual imagery that only Luca Guadagnino could do. Like, the ending scene alone is just fantastic. But I'll be honest, there's a large section of this movie where they go to the jungle, and this is where it started to test me a little bit. I was wondering leading up to this movie, like, why some people were throwing the Suspiria comp out here, because again, I had not read the novel. I didn't really know much about it. And while, nothing is one-to-one comparison, I kind of get it now. Because whenever someone throws out that word Suspiria, that's just code for me that shit's gonna get weird. And shit got weird. Whether you want to see it goes full Lynchian or just straight Luca Guadagnino mode, I mean, it really swings for it. And I don't mind those specific elements at all. It's just that section of the jungle, I'm just gonna refer to it as that. I don't want to give anything away. It felt like I was trapped there for like 2 hours. Now, being fully transparent, could it be because that was my fourth movie of the day and it started basically at 10 o'clock and I was exhausted? Totally could be. I'm open to that being the reason for it. And I'm looking forward to seeing this again, but considering I was really enjoying the first half, I have a feeling that conflict of mine wouldn't really change. But who knows? And it was in those moments where they're swinging the machete through the jungle, chopping down branches, or almost getting attacked by a snake, is really where it lost me and with the things that I was liking about it in the first place. That hypnotic, enchanting vibe never came back for me, even with a good ending scene, and that was just a bummer just for me personally. And as I've said many times on this channel, the last thing I want to feel is like that itch of, like, when is this wrapping up? And I'm sorry to say, I started to feel it in that moment. But even through everything, this movie does have a very clear through line of what it's trying to say, even through the section that I didn't care about. And book readers, you'll probably love it because you knew exactly what was going to happen and it didn't feel jarring to you at all. So that's great. Happy for you. I want to be clear that I really respect this movie, and there are certainly a lot to like about it, especially in that first half for me. But admittedly, when the whole experience was over, I couldn't help but feeling a little flat about the whole thing. Queer, 3 stars. Now, if it had some tennis, then we're cooking.